Before we dive into this mystery, don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. The truth behind America's darkest cases is never simple, and this one might be the most haunting of all. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days when the call came in. It was just after 4 a.m. on a cold autumn morning in Briarwood, Oregon, a quiet logging town tucked between endless pines and twisting backroads. Most of the town slept through the storm, but inside the county dispatch center, a radio alert crackled to life. A vehicle found abandoned on Ridgeway Bridge. Engine still warm. Driver nowhere in sight. Detective Mara Ellison had been asleep for barely an hour when her phone buzzed. She dragged herself out of bed, slipped into her boots, and stepped outside into the icy rain. She'd worked missing persons before, but something in the dispatcher's voice made her senses sharpen even before she arrived at the scene. Ridgeway Bridge loomed over the rushing Blackwater River, a half-mile stretch of steel and concrete often swallowed by morning fog. Floodlights from patrol cars cut through the haze as Mara approached the abandoned sedan. The driver's door hung open. The interior light flickered weakly in the storm. The car belonged to 21-year-old college student Olivia Marin. Her purse was still in the passenger seat. Her phone sat in the cup holder. Her keys dangled from the ignition. No signs of struggle. No footprints on the wet pavement. No witnesses. Just emptiness. Mara leaned inside the vehicle. A half-finished iced coffee. A stack of textbooks. A blue windbreaker draped across the backseat. Everything neat, ordinary, except for a single thing that made Mara's breath slow. The driver's seat was pushed all the way back. Olivia was barely 5 feet tall, which meant someone else had been behind the wheel. Any security cams? Mara asked. The patrol officer shook his head. Bridge is a dead zone. Closest camera is a mile back on the highway. The wind howled through the steel beams overhead. The river churned violently far below, the water dark and fast from the relentless rainfall. To anyone else, the scene might have suggested a tragic accident. A slip, a fall, another life taken by the unpredictable river. But Mara had seen enough missing persons cases to recognize when something didn't fit. This was one of those times. The first clue. By sunrise, the search had already started. Boats combed the river. Officers canvassed nearby trails. Volunteers gathered with flashlights, calling Olivia's name into the storm-thick air. But just as the search expanded, a second strange detail emerged. The highway camera, the one a mile away, captured Olivia's car passing at 2:47 a.m. Only it wasn't Olivia driving. The footage was grainy, blurred from the rain, but the silhouette behind the wheel looked larger, broader, masculine. More importantly, the driver wore a dark hood pulled tightly over their face. The passenger seat appeared empty, and Olivia was nowhere. Mara replayed the footage over and over, watching the car glide through the frame like a ghost. No plate number visible. No distinguishing features. Just a shadow moving through the storm. She turned to the technician. Show me the cars in the minute before and after. Several vehicles appeared, a truck, 2 sedans, a delivery van, all normal. All with drivers clearly visible. Only Olivia's car was different. Someone planned this, Mara murmured. They didn't want to be seen. Introducing the victim. Olivia Marin wasn't the type of person who simply vanished. She was a sociology major at Briarwood University, a part-time barista, and a volunteer at the local animal shelter. By all accounts, she was responsible, cautious, grounded, a young woman who told her roommate exactly where she was going and when she'd be back. But the roommate, Jenna, told Mara something that made the case twist immediately. Olivia wasn't supposed to be out last night, Jenna said, her voice shaky. She got this text around midnight. She read it and just froze. What did it say? Mara asked. I don't know. She deleted it. But she told me, I have to take care of something. I'll be back in an hour. She seemed scared. Did she say who it was from? She didn't. But I know she recognized the number. Mara wrote that down. Fear. Recognition. Urgency. None of it suggested an accident. Did she have any conflicts? Anyone who might want to pressure or threaten her? Jenna hesitated. No. At least. I don't think so. But she had been stressed lately. Really stressed. How so? She kept checking over her shoulder. She changed her route walking home. And she told me twice that she felt like someone was watching her. That was the moment Mara felt a chill deeper than the autumn storm. Someone had been circling Olivia's life long before Ridgeway Bridge. A second victim. At noon, as Mara organized the search grid, a deputy approached her with a strange development. "Detective, you need to see this," he said, handing her a thin case file. "This came in 2 weeks ago. Filed by a college student across town." The report described a woman, 19-year-old Hannah Brooks, who believed she was being followed for several nights. She reported seeing the same dark SUV parked near her dorm, idling near the bookstore, and slowly trailing behind her as she walked home. The description of the driver: a man in a hooded jacket. The deputy continued. Campus security reviewed camera footage, but the plates were covered. Hannah filed the report, and then withdrew it 3 days later. "Why?" Mara asked. They never got an answer. She just stopped responding. Mara turned the final page of the file and froze. Hannah Brooks lived only 4 blocks from Olivia. And Jenna's last statement echoed in her mind. She felt like someone was watching her. The basement room. That evening, after a day of muddy search teams and dead-end leads, Mara decided to check Olivia's off-campus apartment herself. The unit was small, 2 bedrooms, narrow kitchen, cluttered living room. But something about the space felt wrong. Too quiet. Too untouched. Too staged, almost. Jenna hovered nervously as Mara walked through the apartment, taking photos, noting details. Then she stopped in front of a small hallway closet. "What's in here?" Mara asked. "Just cleaning stuff," Jenna replied. "Vacuum, broom, some storage bins." Mara opened the door. The closet was exactly that. Ordinary cleaning supplies arranged on shelves, a stack of folded towels, a box of holiday lights. But on the inside of the door were faint scratches. Vertical scratches. Deliberate. Human height. "Did you put these here?" Mara asked quietly. Jenna's face drained of color. "No. I've never seen that before." Mara leaned closer. The marks weren't random. They looked like someone had dragged their fingernails down the wood, deep enough to leave grooves, shallow enough to go unnoticed by a casual glance. Then she noticed something else, a tiny piece of blue fabric caught in the hinge. Olivia owned a blue windbreaker. It was in her car. So whose fabric was this? Mara bagged the fragment carefully. "This isn't clean," she murmured. "This closet was opened recently, and someone was inside." Jenna backed away. Inside. Like, hiding. Mara didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence said everything. Someone had been inside the apartment. Someone who shouldn't have been there. Someone close enough to scratch the inside of a closet door. The phone record. Late that night, Mara received Olivia's preliminary phone report. Call logs. Accidental recordings. Deleted messages recovered. When the digital analyst handed her the printed sheet, he said only, "You're going to want to sit down." The last message sent to Olivia came from an unregistered prepaid number. The message read, "It's time." Sent at 12:03 a.m. Deleted at 12:04. Phone powered off at 3:01. But the most unsettling part wasn't the message. It was the audio file found in the deleted folder. A 6-second recording. Time-stamped 2:51 a.m., roughly 4 minutes after Olivia's car passed the highway camera. Mara plugged in her earbuds and pressed play. For 2 seconds, there was only static. Then a faint voice, female, trembling. "Please. I did what you asked. Just let me." A heavy thud. A gasp. Then silence. Mara ripped out the earbuds, her heart pounding. It wasn't a fall. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a runaway case. Olivia had been taken. The Chapter 1 cliffhanger. Mara rushed back to the precinct with the audio file, intending to have it enhanced immediately. But as she stepped into the hallway, she saw 2 officers staring at a new evidence envelope on her desk. The label read, Delivered anonymously, 9:14 p.m. Inside was a single photograph. A basement. Concrete floor. Low ceiling. A single chair in the center of the room. Tied to that chair, head down, hair covering her face, was a young woman. Not Olivia, but Hannah Brooks, the girl who had reported being followed and then withdrawn her complaint. On the back of the photograph was a message scrawled in black ink. "You're already too late. She wasn't the first. And she won't be the last." Mara felt the room tilt. Because the timestamp on the photo was from that same morning, less than 12 hours earlier. Someone was taunting them. Someone who knew exactly what the police were discovering. Someone who was always one step ahead. And as Mara stared at the basement walls in the photo, her stomach twisted. Because she recognized them. They matched the abandoned property outside Briarwood, a site the search team had already passed once. A site they would now have to return to. But when they opened that locked basement door, what they found changed everything. Detective Mara Ellison didn't wait for backup. The moment she recognized the basement walls in that chilling photograph, she grabbed her jacket, her keys, and the evidence bag. The storm had finally eased, leaving behind a heavy fog that clung to the asphalt as she sped toward the abandoned property on Old Pine Road. The land stretched across 6 acres of overgrown brush and tall, skeletal trees. Locals rarely came near it. They called it the Hollow House, a relic of a forgotten sawmill operation, long since weathered into a crooked, moss-covered structure. It had once been used for storage. Then squatters. Then nothing. But tonight, it felt alive. When Mara stepped out of her SUV, the air was unnervingly still. No wind. No birds. Just the faint drip of water from the tree branches overhead. She approached the sagging porch, flashlight in hand, her steps cautious but determined. The front door was locked. She didn't bother with subtlety. One sharp kick. The wood splintered inward. The house swallowed her in darkness. She swept the beam of her flashlight through the entryway. Broken glass, scattered debris, peeling wallpaper curling like dead leaves. The place looked abandoned, yes, but not untouched. Footprints in the dust. A recently moved chair. A half-burned candle on the floor. Someone had been here. Maybe still was. Mara's heartbeat thudded in her ears as she moved deeper into the house. The wooden floor groaned beneath her boots. Every sound felt amplified, echoing off the hollow walls. She found the basement door partially open. Just like in the photo. Just like someone wanted her to find it. She paused, listening. Nothing. She flicked on the stairway light switch. Dead. Wires cut. Her flashlight beam pointed downward. The stairs disappeared into pitch-black concrete. She took a breath, steady, focused, then stepped inside. The basement. The basement smelled of damp concrete and something metallic, like tools, rust, and old air trapped for decades. Mara's flashlight swept across crates, broken furniture, and industrial equipment coated in dust. The room was larger than she remembered from previous trespassing calls. But the chair in the center, the one from the photograph, was unmistakable. Empty. No sign of Hannah Brooks. No ropes. No footprints. No struggle. Just the chilling impression that whoever had sent the photograph had moved her long before Mara arrived. But in the far corner, something caught her eye, the only thing in the room that looked untouched by age or decay. A small metal lockbox. Mara crouched beside it. There was no lock. Just a lid sealed shut with a piece of tape. The tape read, "Open." She hesitated. Every instinct screamed trap, not physical danger, but psychological. Someone was playing with them, pulling the investigation by strings like a puppet master. But Mara peeled back the tape and lifted the lid. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Stacks of black and white prints, each labeled with a date and a location in neat handwriting. Victims. All women. All around the same age as Olivia and Hannah. All from different towns across Oregon and Washington. Most were missing person posters photographed and reprinted. Others were candid photos. Women walking to class, grocery shopping, sitting in a cafe unaware they were being watched. One photo made Mara stop cold. It was Olivia. Taken weeks before her disappearance. She was walking home, smiling at something off camera, wearing her backpack, earbuds in. The back of the photograph contained a single word. Chosen. Mara's pulse hammered. This wasn't random. This wasn't impulsive. Someone had been selecting victims long before the first disappearance was ever reported. She went deeper into the stack. More faces. More young women. Some she recognized from statewide missing person alerts. Others she had never seen. But near the bottom of the box was another photo, a recent one. Too recent. Hannah Brooks. Bound. Terrified. A new message was scribbled across the bottom in black ink. She told you. You didn't listen. Mara felt a weight drop in her stomach. Whoever this was, they believed the system had failed. They believed they were exposing some deeper truth. Or worse, they were punishing people for something twisted only they understood. But as she placed the photos back into the box, she noticed something else under the stack. A USB drive. Between the threatening notes and the carefully staged clues, the drive felt like the next step in a game she never agreed to play. She slipped it into an evidence bag just as her phone buzzed. It was the precinct. Detective Ellison. You need to come back immediately. Another package was delivered, addressed to you. Her stomach tightened. What was inside? The officer's voice trembled. Olivia Marin's student ID, and a note that says, "You're running out of time." The missing hour. By the time Mara returned to the precinct, the evidence room buzzed with tension. Officers whispered. Phones rang. The chief paced the hallway. The new package lay on her desk. Inside, Olivia's student ID card, slightly scratched. A single Polaroid of Olivia sitting in a car, looking frightened. And a short note in the same black ink. 3:14 a.m., you missed what happened next. That timestamp struck Mara immediately. 3:14 a.m. The same hour Olivia's phone powered off. The same hour the highway camera recorded nothing, a blackout caused by heavy rain. Someone had taken Olivia during that missing hour. Mara spread the items across her desk. The Polaroid was the most unsettling. Olivia was in the passenger seat, seatbelt on, looking directly at the camera with wide, terrified eyes. This wasn't a surveillance shot. This was staged. The person behind the camera had been close, inches away. The steering wheel behind her wasn't from her car. It was from a dark SUV. Hannah reported a dark SUV, Mara whispered. The pieces were aligning, but the puzzle they formed was more disturbing than she imagined. The USB drive. Mara inserted the USB drive into the precinct's secure workstation. Dozens of folders appeared instantly. Dates. Times. Locations. Videos. She clicked the first. A time-stamped clip from a grocery store parking lot. Olivia loading bags into her car. In the background, nearly hidden, sat a dark SUV with its headlights off. The next clip. Olivia inside a cafe, studying. The same SUV passing slowly outside the window. Next. Olivia leaving her night class. The SUV following at a distance. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment abduction. This was stalking. Long-term surveillance. Mara's chest tightened as she clicked another folder. This one labeled HB, Hannah Brooks. Videos of Hannah jogging on campus. Sitting outside the library. Walking home at dusk. Always the same vehicle lingering nearby. Then Mara opened one final folder. It was labeled, Me. She froze. Inside were clips of herself. Walking into the precinct. Grocery shopping. Stopping at a red light. Leaving her home at dawn. Nearly a dozen videos. Someone had been following Mara too. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't just a case. This wasn't just a serial predator. This person had woven themselves into the investigation. Watching, predicting, controlling. They weren't just taunting her. They were warning her. You're in the story now. A breakthrough. And a threat. Before Mara could process it fully, an officer rushed toward her, nearly out of breath. Detective. The dark SUV. We found one matching the description. It was spotted at an old service road near Blackwater Ridge. Mara grabbed her coat and evidence folder. Get a team ready. We move now. But before she left, the officer added something that made her stop mid-step. The driver abandoned it. And they left something inside for you. What? The officer swallowed hard. A letter, detective. With your name on it. The service road. The SUV was parked at the edge of a dense forest. Tires muddy, driver's door open. Flashlights lit the interior as Mara approached. The team had already cleared the vehicle. Inside, on the driver's seat, was the letter. Her hands tightened as she picked it up. The handwriting was the same cold, careful script. You're getting closer. Too close. But you won't save her by chasing shadows. Beneath the note was a second photograph. This one hit like a punch. Olivia again, but this time tied to a chair in a new location. A different basement. Different walls. Different lighting. But it was the detail in the bottom corner of the photo that made Mara curse under her breath. A calendar. The date circled in red was today. And at the bottom of the photo, a final message. If you want to save her, follow the river at dawn. Come alone. The officers around her stiffened. This is a trap, the chief warned. They're controlling the narrative. They want you isolated. Mara looked again at the photo, at Olivia's terrified expression, at the circled date. I don't care, she said quietly. If there's a chance she's still alive, I'm going. She stepped away from the SUV, rain beginning to fall once more, the forest whispering around them like a warning. Dawn was only hours away. And somewhere along the Blackwater River, a criminal waited. But when Mara finally found the riverbank at first light, what she discovered wasn't Olivia. It was something far worse. Something that revealed the darkest truth of the case so far. The first light of morning washed over the Blackwater River like a pale silver blade. A soft mist hovered above the water, coiling through the pine trees in ghost-like tendrils. Detective Mara Ellison stepped onto the muddy riverbank, her breath forming clouds in the cold dawn air. She came alone, as the note demanded, but she wasn't unprepared. Every sense in her body was sharp, bracing for whatever would emerge from the silence. She scanned the shoreline, rocks slick with dew, tangled branches, and thick undergrowth. No signs of a struggle. No footprints. No movement. Just the soft current sliding past. But then she saw it. A piece of blue fabric caught on a low branch near the water's edge. Blue. Like the windbreaker Olivia always wore. Mara crouched, her fingers brushing the cloth gently. It wasn't torn or bloody, just damp, as if placed there deliberately. A signal. A breadcrumb. The suspect wasn't hiding. They were guiding her. A quiet rustling came from behind the tree line. Mara spun, hand hovering over her holster. Who's there? She called. No answer. Just the rustle of leaves, then silence again. She moved forward slowly, pushing through the brush. The rustling grew louder, not frantic, but measured, like footsteps taken with purpose. And then she found it. A trail of small, reflective markers nailed to tree trunks, catching the early sunlight. Barely visible unless someone was looking for them. The markers created a path. A path meant specifically for her. Mara followed. The shack in the woods. The trail led her deeper into the forest, where the air felt heavy and still, muffled by the thick canopy above. After nearly 15 minutes of careful movement, she saw it, a small wooden shack tucked between towering pines. Weathered. Crooked. Barely standing. But a faint light glowed from a single window. Mara approached, heart pounding steadily, hand ready to draw but not yet raised. Every fiber of her training warned her this was a trap, but every instinct told her that Olivia was somewhere near. The shack door was closed, but not locked. She pushed it open slowly. The interior was dim, lit only by a lantern on a crate. The space was cluttered with old tools, rope, an overturned table, but no sign of Olivia. Instead, in the center of the room, another envelope lay waiting. Her name on the front. Mara's chest tightened as she opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a message written in the same controlled handwriting. You keep looking in the wrong place. Go back to where it began. Below the line was an address. Her eyes widened. It wasn't a crime scene. It wasn't a basement. It wasn't a cabin. It was an apartment building in downtown Briarwood. Olivia's old address from 2 years ago. Mara's breath hitched. Why there? What had Olivia left behind? What had the criminal discovered about her past that Mara hadn't? But before she could turn to leave, she saw movement from the corner of her eye, a shadow shifting behind the shack through a crack in the boards. Mara stepped outside. Branches snapped. A figure moved swiftly between the trees, covered by a dark hood like the one in the highway footage. Stop! Police! Mara yelled. The figure didn't run. They paused, just long enough for her to see a faint outline of a mask beneath the hood. Then they slipped deeper into the forest. Mara sprinted after them, but the woods swallowed the figure quickly. Within moments, they vanished completely. Not a single trace left behind. But they had shown themselves deliberately. They wanted her to see them. They wanted to stay one step ahead. They wanted control. Not because of the investigation, but because of her. For the first time, Mara realized. This wasn't about the victims anymore. This was about her. The revelation. The drive to Olivia's old apartment was a blur of flashing thoughts and tightening fears. The building was modest, 3 stories, with brick walls and narrow hallways. According to rental records, Olivia had lived in Unit 2B when she first moved to Briarwood. But she had never mentioned anything unusual about the place. The door to 2B was now occupied by a young couple who had no idea their home was a key to a criminal investigation. They let Mara inside, confused but cooperative. The apartment was small, kitchen, living room, 2 bedrooms. It looked nothing like a crime scene. But Mara wasn't looking for a scene. She was looking for history. She opened closets, checked vents, searched the walls for scratches similar to those in Olivia's current place. Nothing. She was about to give up when she noticed something odd, a patch of wall behind a dresser that was slightly discolored, as if repainted recently. Did you repaint this? Mara asked the couple. The woman shook her head. No. It was like that when we moved in. Mara moved the dresser aside, revealing the discolored square more clearly. She tapped it. Hollow. Her pulse quickened. She drew her multi-tool, wedged it into the seam, and pulled. The plaster panel shifted loose. Behind it was a small, hidden cavity. Inside the cavity, a notebook. Dusty. Weathered. Bound with a blue ribbon. Olivia's handwriting on the cover. Mara opened it carefully. Page after page of journal entries described the same thing. A man. A shadow. Someone who followed her during her freshman year. Someone she reported to campus security. Someone security dismissed for lack of evidence. But the final entries were the most chilling. He knows where I live. He left something on my door today. I think he's watching me again. I'm scared to sleep. Why won't anyone listen? He said he was not finished. Mara closed the notebook slowly. This wasn't a new stalker. This was someone who had been in Olivia's life for years. Someone who had resurfaced. Someone who had escalated. Someone who believed the world ignored him and now wanted to force everyone to see. Suddenly Mara understood. The photos. The recordings. The taunts. The surveillance of her. It wasn't random. It wasn't chaos. It was a message. You ignored her before. You won't ignore her now. But before she could process the implications fully, her phone buzzed violently. An unknown number. No caller ID. She answered. A distorted voice whispered. You found the notebook. Good. Now come find her. Mara stiffened. Where is she? A soft laugh. Check your car. The call ended. Her stomach sank. She ran outside. The captive. On the windshield of her SUV was a new Polaroid, pinned under the wiper blade. Mara snatched it up. Her breath caught. It was Olivia. Alive. Sitting in a dim room with concrete walls. Her hands tied in front of her but not tightly. She looked exhausted, scared, but conscious. Behind her, painted on the wall in large, black letters. Last chance. And below that, a location written in thick marker. The old Briarwood water treatment plant. A massive, abandoned facility on the outskirts of town, scheduled for demolition, left to decay for years. It was the perfect place to hide someone. And the perfect place to confront a detective. The final hunt. Mara raced to the water plant. The building's silhouette towered through the fog, a giant concrete shell with broken windows and rusted doors. The entrance hung open, as if waiting. Inside, the air smelled of dust and stagnant water. Echoes carried through the wide halls, drips, metallic clangs, faraway creaks. She moved through the main corridor, flashlight raised. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing old machinery and tangled pipes. Then she saw it. A trail of blue tape markers on the floor. Leading her deeper. She followed the trail into the lowest level, the filtration rooms. Rows of empty basins lined the floor like enormous pits. From somewhere ahead, she heard it. A faint cry. Olivia! Mara ran. She reached a small room at the back of the plant. The door was half open. She burst inside. Olivia sat on the floor, tied but unharmed. Her eyes widened at the sight of Mara. Detective, he's here. Mara knelt. It's okay. I've got you. We're getting out. But Olivia shook her head desperately. No, he didn't bring me here for you to find me. He brought us both here for something else. Mara's blood chilled. What do you mean? Olivia's voice trembled. He said you were the one he really wanted to talk to. A metallic click echoed behind Mara. She turned slowly. The hooded figure stood in the doorway. Still. Silent. Mask reflecting the dim light. But before Mara could reach for her weapon, the figure stepped back into the shadows and spoke with a calmness that made her skin crawl. Now you finally understand. The truth, and the twist. The hooded figure didn't attack. He didn't run. He simply stood there, watching. Mara stepped between him and Olivia. Put your hands where I can see them. Right now. He tilted his head slightly, mask gleaming. You think I did this because I wanted to hurt her? He said quietly. No. I did this because no one listened when she begged for help. I watched her be ignored. I watched every warning dismissed. She wasn't the first. Mara kept her weapon steady. Then why stalk me? Why send those threats? Because you were the only one who actually took the case seriously, he replied. I wanted to see if you were better, or just like the rest. Mara's jaw tightened. You kidnapped her. I saved her, the figure whispered. From the real monster. Mara felt the floor drop beneath her. What real monster? The figure took one slow step back. The man who stalked her 2 years ago. The man she reported. The man who was told to leave campus quietly. His back. A pause. And he's been watching both of you. Before Mara could react, a second voice echoed from somewhere behind the concrete pillars. A man's voice. Calm. Cold. You should have stayed out of it, detective. Mara spun toward the sound. A figure stepped into the dim light. No hood, no mask. Just a man with a calm expression and dark, focused eyes. Olivia gasped. That's him, she whispered. The original stalker. Mara raised her weapon toward the man. Hands up. He didn't comply. He simply looked past her, toward the masked figure. You ruined my work, he said. Both of you. The masked man's voice lowered. Not anymore. In that instant, Mara realized. There were two criminals. On opposite sides. Both obsessed with Olivia for different reasons. One wanted control. The other wanted to save her. Both were dangerous. And she was standing between them. A sharp clatter sounded above, metal shifting, something heavy loosening. Mara spotted it an instant before it happened. A rusted pipe assembly from the ceiling gave way and crashed downward between the two men, creating a wall of debris and dust. When the dust cleared, both men were gone. Vanished into different corridors of the plant. The haunting ending. Backup arrived minutes later. Mara freed Olivia and escorted her outside. She was shaken but safe, physically unharmed. But the suspects were nowhere. One had captured her. One had originally stalked her. Neither was caught. The investigation expanded statewide. But 1 month later, a new missing person case emerged in a neighboring town. A young woman. Same age range. Same profile. On a wall near her home, investigators found a message written in black marker. Not finished. And taped beneath it, a Polaroid of Detective Mara Ellison, watching her own home, taken from less than 20 feet away. The final line written across the bottom said, "If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for what happens next."